Keeping a tidy home can be really difficult, especially if you have little children at home, maybe even teenagers, or you work many hours outside of the home and it's hard for you to be home to be able to keep the home tidy. So today I wanted to discuss some of the things that I do in order to keep my home tidy for the most part, because I'm not perfect and it definitely doesn't happen all the time. But I have found that when I follow through with these routines and habits, I am able to keep it tidy, and it's much easier to clean when I'm ready to clean because everything is tidied up. So the very first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is I head out to the kitchen, and I have assigned one of my kids to empty the dishwasher first thing in the morning. And I try and get them to do it before school so that we can load all the breakfast dishes and load everything that we use throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, we can just go ahead and turn on the dishwasher, and by the next morning, we can empty it again. It's just a perfect way to be able to keep those dishes out of the sink, keep it cleaned up, because I find that when there's dishes all over the kitchen, I feel like the rest of the house is just so messy. It gets me really overwhelmed. So when I can keep up on the dishes in the kitchen, it just is really helpful. So the next thing that I like to do is head into the laundry room. I prefer to do 1 to 2 loads every day. I know that there are a lot of people that prefer to do all the laundry in one day, and that's totally okay. I think I actually have done that in the past before, but for me, I find that when I do smaller loads every day, it's much easier for me to fold them and get them put away, because it's not quite as overwhelming when I have like huge loads of laundry. Because I can actually fold a load of laundry in 2 to 3 minutes usually, if it's not a huge load. So what I like to do is I go in there and I put a load of dirty laundry into the washing machine and get that started. And I always like to set a timer on my watch for when the load is done, because I often forget. And you know how it goes when you leave clothes in the washing machine, they get all stinky and mildewy. And sometimes if I do that, which I definitely do, is you have to rewash them. At least I do, because you put them in the dryer and then they just smell. So I try and put the load into the washing machine, and if there's clothes in the dryer, I do a quick fold of all those clothes so that once the load is done in the wash, it can just go straight into the dryer. If I'm going to be doing 2 loads a day, then as soon as that timer's up, I go in and stick another load. And again, if I don't get the load of laundry, the last load of laundry in the dryer folded, it's totally okay, because the next morning I know that I'll be able to get to it. The third thing I like to do is to go make my bed. I would prefer actually to make my bed as soon as I get out of the bed in the morning, but I have my husband often sleeping in it as soon as I wake up. So I like to do it after the kids are all off to school. We've done the dishes and the laundry, and then I like to get my bed made. It's kind of like the kitchen, where if my bed isn't made, it just feels really messy, and I like to be able to have that calm when my bed is made. And with that, I like to do a quick cleanup in my room and also in the kitchen and the living room. Those are just the 3 spaces here on my main floor that make it so that I feel like the house is a little bit tidier. So after I make my bed, I'll put away my pajamas. I'll make sure that they go straight into the dirty clothes or back into the drawer if they're only been worn once. Sometimes I wear them 2 or 3 times before I wash them. It just saves on laundry. If I had left clothes out from the night before, which I really try not to do, again, I'll put those away. And just shoes and things that have been left out, I get picked up and put away. And then I go into the living room again, and I'll do a quick pickup of anything that has been left on the floor. I like to just kind of straighten the cushions on the couch. I like to pick up everything off the floor for a couple reasons. 1 is because it makes it feel tidier, of course. But 2, I love to be able to just turn on the robot vacuum and let it do its job. It gets all the dust, it gets all the dog hair, and it just helps me to feel like my house is tidier throughout the day. And I know that not everybody has a robot vacuum, and that is totally okay. I didn't have one for a really long time, so what I would do is I would actually just take out my regular vacuum and do a quick 5 to 10 minute vacuum of the high traffic areas in the main space. And that would just, again, help to be able to keep up all the crumbs and the dirt from spreading throughout the house. So I've been thinking a lot about this idea that I've learned from Jody Moore. I don't know if you know her, but she is a life coach. I was part of her coaching program for a couple of years a little while ago. And one of the biggest things that she taught me that opened my eyes quite a bit was this idea of discomfort now or discomfort later. And that's one of the things that when it comes to tidying my home is something that I think about a lot, because either way, it's not going to be super comfortable to tidy my home. There's definitely times where I feel like, oh, I don't want to do it today, but then it becomes a mess, right? It becomes really hard to keep up on it. I have to remember, do I want to have discomfort right now and reach my goal of having a tidy home? Or do I want to put it off and still feel discomfort later because I will eventually need to clean it up, right? But then I won't be able to reach my goal of a tidy home quite as soon. That is often something that I really have to think about. This isn't just for tidying my home, this is for anything. Or I think to myself, this doesn't feel comfortable. I don't want to do it right now, and maybe later it will feel comfortable. Usually it ends up not feeling comfortable either way. So that's something that I have to try and remind myself. Either way, it's not going to be very comfortable to tidy, to clean, to declutter, to organize. Well, for me, some of those things actually really help me to feel happy and bring me a lot of joy. Part of the process in most of those things, there's definitely some discomfort. So anyway, those were just some thoughts that I had, and I wanted to share those with you. If you want to hear more about Jody Moore, I can leave her link below. It's not sponsored by her at all. This is just some tips that I really learned from her that I really appreciated. So anyway, we'll go back to the 5 habits that will help us to be able to keep our homes tidy. So I wanted to keep this list really short and sweet because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to feel like you have to do these things. I'm just giving you some ideas. So I've given you 4 and I just have one more, but these are the 5 that I feel like are the most important. So the 5th one is usually around dinner time, and this is when I am cooking dinner. I like to try and put all the dishes straight into the dishwasher as I use them. Also, there's some items that I like to hand wash. I like to hand wash my pots and pans and my nice knives that are really sharp, that I want to keep sharp, so I don't put those in the dishwasher. So sometimes I'm not able to get those items hand washed right away, but what I like to do is say, for example, I needed to put something in the oven that needs to cook for 30 minutes or even 5 minutes. During that time, I'll take a few minutes to load anything in the dishwasher that I haven't loaded yet. I'll also take that time to hand wash really quick. That makes it so much easier when dinner is over to clean up. We don't have this huge mess with all these dishes. It makes it so much faster for our whole family just to get it done. So these really are just the top 5 things that help me to be able to keep my home tidy for the most part. Again, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and like you have to do them. I'm hoping that you can just take some tips from what I do and maybe implement them yourself. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you next time.